Providence. Well, good evening and welcome to About the Valley at the Purgatory Beer Company. We're right here now. You can
Yeah, I
see.
wish, right?
Yeah,
We'd be drinking if we were.
yeah. Yeah, we got a couple of grocks. What they call them, grocks?
They're growlers.
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 Grog was alcohol. Was a whiskey, wasn't it?
I think so. Maybe is it grog or is it grog or
Grog.
yeah,
Grog.
grog
That's
is
it.
something
Grog.
I think
Yeah,
they
grog.
used to.
Similar bottle though, isn't it?
Well, it probably.
Yeah.
I think grog was something that like the English Navy served their sailors to
Right.
keep them from having a mutiny or something like that.
Well, rum you had a daily distribution
Yes.
of rum.
When
And,
they ran out of rum,
oh yeah.
there was trouble. So just if we ran out of beer, there'd be
Well,
similar
you know,
trouble.
we talk about a little bit about the history of beer. Up until after Prohibition ended, prior to Prohibition, you couldn't go down and get a can of beer or a bottle of beer. It didn't come in cans and bottles.
Mhm.
You went to the local bar
Mhm.
and you brought your bucket.
Mhm.
That's the song, "My Bucket's Got a Hole in It,"
Yeah.
by Hank Williams. That's what it was about. My bucket's got a hole in it. So his beer bucket, you would go down to the local bar, and they'd fill the bucket, and you'd pay them, and it was all draft beer.
Yeah.
Well, we're kind of going back that way now
Yeah. No, we are.
with your place.
We are. It's we've got the growlers, which you can see here.
Yeah.
And we've sold thousands of these things. Brian and I, Brian wasn't able to join me tonight. My partner Brian DiStefano, and we did the math in regards to how many growlers we sold, and I think it's well over 1,000. So
Wow.
there's thousands of growlers out there, and they're all waiting to be refilled.
Yeah, the thing is, you can bring it back
Hmm.
and get it refilled.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to throw them away. I like what you got, the thing on the back here. It says, refill, recycle, or save. Just don't trash it.
That's right. That's right.
And you know what? What kills me is the government has you put warnings on.
Sure.
I mean, cigarettes, on alcohol. Come on. We know you don't want. If you're an alcoholic, you got a problem.
Yeah. It's one
You
of
don't
these-
drink and drive.
You don't, and there's just certain requirements that
Yeah.
the various governments
But
have on us.
when you
and
had these
we have to
bottles,
comply.
we had these made up. You had to add that in there.
Yes, we did.
Plus, please always drink responsibly.
Well, that's kind of a
That wasn't required, but
no. That's kind of like a tagline for some of
Well-
Big Beer, and we might come up with a tagline
Yeah.
that's similar to that.
well, they're doing that to keep themselves from being sued,
Mm-hmm.
like the tobacco companies were.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, okay, as long as you drink responsibly, you're all right.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, average person knows that, but it's like when you see you buy something now, it has all these warnings on it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch the pan when it's hot. I mean, or a lawnmower. Don't put your hand inside the blades. A snowblower. Come on.
No, it should be self-explanatory. The one I used to have a paper shredder, and what I thought was funny is they had a little picture of a person with a tie, saying don't lean over the paper shredder with the tie.
Because they're
And, you know,
idiots that did it.
I don't know, Harry. There was that guy called Charles Darwin that had a pretty good idea about just how things work out for folks. But we're in the alcohol business, we're in the beer business,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of things, a lot of rules that we have to follow, and we do. And if putting a disclosure on the growler makes a difference, that's what we do. And again, we just like you said, we try to brand it and make sure that people aren't throwing these things away, and I don't think people do.
No.
People hold on to them, and we have a lot of those growlers that are out there, the thousands of growlers that are out there. Many of them come back. We've got an incredible cast of regulars and fans that we're very grateful for.
There's a reason for the brown bottle too.
Yes.
A lot of people probably don't realize that. It helps to keep the beer preserved.
It does. There's a couple of things that beer doesn't like, and it's funny because Brian and I last week went to Nashville for the Craft Brewers Convention,
Oh,
and it was great. It was overwhelming. It's great. You go there, you find out that there's over 6,000.
I know, they're everywhere.
Well, here's the thing, Harry. I mean, they're everywhere. There's over 6,000 breweries in the country, like 6,500 breweries in the country. But what's interesting to me is like 600 some open last year, including us.
Wow.
But the other thing is, like 150 some closed. So, they're popping up everywhere, but they're also closing. And, often when I'm traveling around and just talking about stuff and people say, these things are popping up like mushrooms all over the place. And I said, well, you're not incorrect. They are. I personally think that every town, not necessarily neighborhood, but every town should have their community brewery. That's kind of what we're trying to do here. But going back to the question about the brown bottle, we spent a lot of time in seminars in Nashville and learning stuff, and we knew this stuff already when it comes to this. But when it comes to packaging beer, and there's just a number of things that beer does not like. Now, mind you, you can have a beer, and it'll still be good, but it might not be as fresh as you'd like.
Right.
And they basically made a study that beer is best within its first month of being produced. But once beer is created, it doesn't like oxygen, it doesn't like light, you can skunk it, and it doesn't like extreme changes in temperature, especially being warm. So when it comes to our beer, we produce it. Once it's carbonated, it stays cold until it's either delivered to the growler. We're canning now, and also whether it's being delivered at the tap room. So it's always staying cold, and that's our promise to our clients. And it's not necessarily the end of the world if it goes from being cold to being warm, if you will. You just don't want an extreme temperature change, like say above 70 degrees, because that can skunk the beer. And again, the brown bottle. So with ales, and that's what we make. We make ales, whether it's stouts, porters, IPAs, pale ales, etc. Ales are very, very susceptible to light. So that's why you'll see them in brown bottles. That's why growlers are brown. But every now and then, like you'll run into a beer like Corona, which is a lager, and it's not as susceptible to light.
Same with Miller.
Yes, the High Life.
Yeah, the High Life. It's a lager, so they put it in white bottles. It doesn't hurt it as much.
The champagne.
Right, the champagne of bottled beer.
You know it. You know it.
I spent a year and a half in Germany, and there is a brewery in every town.
Mm-hmm.
They deliver the beer like they deliver milk on the doorsteps, and there's no drinking age. So they drink beer at a very young age, but it's like it's a natural thing. I mean, they don't overdo it. And they drink it with their meals, or they'll drink it by itself. But they always drink it warm. They don't drink cold beer. In fact, I remember the bartender at the NCO club would take a bottle of Bud from the cooler and he'd run it under the hot water. You see, he didn't want to have it cold. And if you went downtown to a guest house or anything like that, you got a draft beer. It was warm. I loved warm beer. I loved that beer. It was good tasting beer.
Well, it's interesting because, I just think there's a couple of things that are kind of a fiction of the American beer culture. One of which is, overly cold beer, and I like cold beer. Everybody likes cold beer, and we keep our beer around 38 degrees, 37 degrees at the brewery. But that's kind of a fiction of American beer, and also carbonation is, various beers, various so-called pilsners that are out there. They over-carbonate their beers to quite frankly give it a body, a mouthiness, if not body, to the beer when you're drinking it. And that might be used to mask other things that maybe they don't have. So those are some things that we are going to do and supply, because that's what the general clientele wants. But
you carbonate your beer?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So
you add the carbonation to it.
Yes, we do. So
because beer doesn't have carbonation naturally.
No, it doesn't. So it's and trust me, I've had. So the whole thing with beer is as it warms up, it does unlock a lot of the flavor.
Right.
So beer really should be served in the 50s, if you will,
Yep.
temperature-wise, because as it warms up, the flavor comes out. Some aroma will come out of the glass, but we Americans don't do that. So
Well, and that couldn't have always been true because if you go back
mhm,
before refrigeration,
mhm.
I mean, they couldn't have had cold beer, especially in the summertime.
They just go out and get ice. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, no, it's refrigeration is was a challenge for
Yeah.
ages, and I mean beer's been around for thousands of years, so it is kind of a new thing.
I mean,
But
you know why the Pilgrims landed in Provincetown?
because there was a monument for them.
They ran out of beer.
Yeah, no, it's I'm sure.
Yeah, they had run out of beer, and everybody drank it, including the kids.
Hmm.
Because in Europe, well, the Europeans had destroyed the rivers and streams, and you couldn't drink the water.
Hmm.
So they made beer because you could drink beer,
Hmm.
and you wouldn't get. And so that was the thing: you'd either wine or beer, because the alcohol killed any bacteria in it.
Hmm. So,
And
in one of the things that I think is interesting is, and I think we talked about it last time we were in, is just so the alcohol kills the bacteria. A lot of those beers back then were very low alcohol beers, so
Right.
the children can drink it, and everybody could be functional throughout the day. But one of the things that folks weren't, hops were derived from, I believe, Germany.
yep,
A couple hundred years ago, I think early 1800s, they started putting hops in beer in
yeah,
Germany.
yeah, beers didn't always have hops.
No, that's correct. And there's a beer called Gruit that's out there, and there's a brewery in Portsmouth, New Hampshire called Earth Eagle that kind of specializes in Gruit. And basically, what it is it's beer, but they don't use hops. They'll use plants and flowers and things like that to add flavor. But they started adding hops to beer in Germany, and what they realized is the bitterness that is created by the hop and just the way that plant is actually also helped with killing bacteria.
Oh,
So in addition, that was, I think, probably one of the primary reasons for it. And then I think the secondary reason that they realized was the fact that it created some flavor that you didn't have before.
well, I love the hoppy taste of a beer.
Hmm.
I mean, that really makes it distinctive.
Hmm.
And you can smell it, you can taste it. I mean, that's really what makes a beer taste good to me.
Myself as well. It's now, mind you, with some of these beers that are being created, and we're making them too, the hop, just the hop portion of it is escalating quite a bit. And we over hop our beers, but that's what people want. And
Yeah.
the hop market these days is gotten very interesting, where you can get these hops to do some things that you couldn't do in the past. Most notably, weave some citrusy notes and things like that to the beer, so without adding actual citrus.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't understand, I don't go for the blueberry and the
No?
pumpkin and no, I like beer that's beer.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's it's one of these things where when Brian and I started making beer, years ago, one of our things was, we made a Hefeweizen, and you might like that beer style because of your time in Germany, but it really wasn't our thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, because I don't drink it that much, I couldn't quite tell you whether one was good or bad. And we made one, and this was early on, and this is before we were doing the commercial thing at Purgatory, and just didn't come out right. So we decided, something, let's make beers that we like, and most notably our friends like, because that's where it all started.
Well, yeah, you have to please your customers.
So back then when we were home brewing out of the garage, we're making double IPAs and stuff that we like, that's comparable to some of the stuff that was out in the market. Now, mind you, we have a commercial space, we have a commercial brewery, we've got a fantastic fan base, and we've got tons of regulars. And some of our most popular beers are not necessarily the beers that we created for ourselves. We created for them. We've got a beer called Murgatroyd, which is a pale ale. It's not necessarily a real term, but it's our lawnmower beer, and we created it because it makes sense to have a pale ale and supply it to the people that like that sort of beer.
I like a pale ale.
Yeah.
I like an IPA.
I can never get you to drink anything when you come in.
I have to keep it really low, and I don't have it very often because I diabetes. But I do like to. Let me take this call here. Go ahead, call. You're on.
Well, this is Double Dutch Dave. I called the last time Purgatory Beer Company made an appearance, and
That's right.
I'm a big
Double
fan of
Dutch.
About the Valley. I really am.
Oh, well,
I
that's
must
good to hear.
ask, Kevin,
Yes.
what is your prairie animal of choice?
My prairie animal of choice.
Yes.
You
So we
know,
got meerkats,
like a
prairie dogs.
A meerkat? I'd say probably like a probably a prairie dog or maybe a jackalope.
Oh, that is so intriguing. I just had to ask.
Oh well, thanks for asking,
A jackalope, huh?
and then thanks for being a fan. A jackalope, those exist, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I saw one in my backyard the other day.
Around here.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might have been a raccoon. Double Dutch.
You know,
When are you
you
gonna
don't
come
have
down
very
and
good
see
vision,
us?
so.
You haven't been down to the brewery in a
Signing
while.
off, Double Dutch Dave.
Oh man.
You get down? You get down here?
No, I think Double Dutch is gone.
Oh, she's gone. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, you actually have you got a pretty steady crowd, right? I mean, regulars that come in.
So yeah, no, we've got a great fan following. We really do, and it's one of these things where when craft beer is popular. I mean, I get it. It's popular. These things are popping up all over the place.
Oh, I know.
I'm not going to say it's easy to open up one of these businesses, but a lot of places are doing well.
You
and-
guys spent almost 2 years trying.
Yeah, no, it takes. Yeah, I mean, licensing alone took a year.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you do all this work. Our space. When you go to our space, you realize we created it and we restored the old mill building primarily to have it be a retail space. You
Yeah.
go. Harry, you've been there. You've
Yeah.
got the stone walls.
No, it's a beautiful job, but you did it. It's nice inside. It really is.
It took us 14 months to renovate it, sandblasting, all kinds of work. We basically gutted the place. And when we went in there in February 2016, Brian and I looked at the place and we're just like, oh man, I mean, this is going to be a lot of work, but if we can turn this space into a cool retail space, I think they'll come. And it's one of these things where you put the time in. There were months when we were renovating the place where we weren't brewing. And I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, we need to, we've got some great product, but we always have to be refining our craft. And, we're spending all this time doing grunt work at the mill, got that done. Obviously, turned our focus to brewing again. And anyways, you open this place. We opened up on November 4th of last year. And quite frankly, you never know what's going to happen. You
Right.
really don't. I mean, we had gotten a fair amount of interest from folks just kind of, when you guys open it up, why is it taking so long? One guy came in and was, basically said that, why is this taking so long? You're not getting anywhere. So it takes a while to get there, and the people showed up. And what's fantastic is we've got just an incredible. Well, we every week it's very intriguing to see where people come from, and we've trained our beer tenders and we focus on this where we ask people where are you coming from, and all that. And at this
So you're
point,
not just drawing from town. You're drawing from all over.
yeah, no. So initially it was, I think it was fairly local, but I mean we've had folks come to visit us from every New England state. We had a bunch of folks coming down from Maine to check out the beer, but and that's great. It's always awesome when that occurs. But I will tell you, what's also fantastic is the fact that we just have an incredible group of folks who come every week. It's incredible. They come every week. They bring their growlers. They hang out. We've become great friends with these folks, and without them, we couldn't do this. I think about it all the time.
Well, now you're getting a little more into entertainment too, as well.
Well, we're hoping to,
Yeah.
right?
But I understand that this is kind of the norm with a lot of these little breweries now. You have to do a little more. People expect a little more.
They do.
And I see no problem with that. I mean, what the heck? I mean, nothing wrong with being able to have a little entertainment while you have your beer.
So, well, I mean,
You're not going to do food, though.
no, I mean, we're not going to do food. So,
That's a nightmare for,
so it's we don't know. Well, a couple of things. I mean, when it comes to food, we just don't have the space.
Right.
We just don't have the space for food.
Yeah, I mean, where would you put the kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have right now. We don't have room for a kitchen. Number two, I don't have, and Brian, we don't have time to
Right.
do that. I mean, I appreciate that side of the business, and maybe down the line we'll do something with that if we can get a little bit
But
more
you do
space.
have snacks and things like that.
So we do have snacks. We also offer Wicked Twisted Pretzels. Those guys are out of Grafton. They're
Yes.
awesome. So we have that. But I'll tell you this. I mean, we've worked incredibly hard to make sure that, and I think we've done it on most days we're open, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have a food truck.
Yep.
So every Friday we have.
That's a unique idea.
It's a unique idea, and it's important because people come. We have the sort of retail space where people come.
Well, it works
and
good.
they
You
hang
don't
out.
have to worry about the nightmare with restaurant business is your waste and what do you make,
Mm-hmm.
and now you don't have that problem. You got a food truck, and he does it every day, so
Yeah.
it's not a problem for him.
I mean, there's plenty of things for us to do in the brewery. There's always something that we need to do.
Yep.
But when you're in the restaurant business, there's constantly things for you. Yeah, I mean, forget about sleep. And mind you, Brian and I both have day jobs, so
Right.
we're working 7 days a week.
Yeah, this is a hobby really on the weekends, right?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be a hobby.
Now it's-
Now it's a whole lot more
yeah.
than a hobby. I mean, we're not. Trust me, we're never giving this up, and it's been incredible for us. But
But you're doing it the right way. You keep your hours limited,
yeah,
so you're not living there.
no. So
And
well,
the wives aren't going to throw you out because they never see you.
I don't think so. I don't know. But there's plenty of work to do. There's always work to do
Oh.
at the brewery, so we have that.
Well, you got to constantly be brewing a batch. Now
Yep.
you don't do that in 10 minutes. That's
No, I mean each batch takes probably about 6 hours.
yeah.
And it's one of these things where people ask all the time, "You're going to run out of beer?" All that stuff, and when it comes down to it, it's not one of these things where on like any random Saturday or Friday or Sunday, and we try to brew when
Yep.
we're open because for a couple reasons we're there.
Right.
And number two, I just think seeing us operating during operation hours is cool, and also like just the smell. People come in, they know what's happening there. So,
They could actually go down and watch the process.
yeah, they can come down and watch the process. Sometimes people stare at us. Sometimes people feel sorry for us. You shouldn't feel sorry for us. We know what we do. We know what we're doing, I think. No, I'm kidding. But, you have to constantly be brewing
It's
beers.
quite a process to brewing beer. It's not just you don't just turn on the tap.
No.
I mean, you got to do quite a
No.
bit to it.
Well-
How much you agreed at a certain time, and
So, being down in Nashville for the Craft Brewers Conference, you run into vendors where you can automate the process, and of course the big brewers do that. You
Right.
press a button and things start, and things are moving around,
and
things
everything
get out.
goes automatically, but the right amounts and everything else. Where
We still have a very manual process.
yeah,
We're still grinding the grain ourselves. We're still dumping buckets into the mash tun
Yeah.
of the grain. We're obviously coming up with the recipes and making the hop additions when we need to do that. But yeah, no, it's quite the process. It
just like
takes
you
6
did
hours.
as you did in your garage.
Yeah, it's funny because we did a batch, a small batch. In general, if there's a new beer that we want to make, I'm confident, and Brian and I are confident that we can make it and it's going to be drinkable and people will like it. But there was one beer style that we decided to make, and I'm like, something. Let's just do a 10-gallon batch of this. So basically, the old homebrew process, and doing the old homebrew process with a couple of the pieces of equipment that we could use that we now have to just expedite the process. I was shocked with how easy it was. I'm like, I actually kind of missed this. But again, I mean, when, we used to brew, 5 gallons, 7 gallons, maybe 10 gallons at a time. Now we're doing 150 and 200 gallons. So you gotta meet the need, and
Yeah.
it's one of these things where you have to have beer available to your clients. I mean, one of the things that I think is very, very cool and very important about what we do is if we brew a beer, and we keg the beer, we carbonate it and keg it, all of that batch, every drop of that beer is gone in 2 weeks. I mean, some of our beers is selling out within one weekend.
Wow.
But
That's pretty damn fresh beer then.
yeah, beer never makes it past 2 weeks. And I tell our clients who fill the growlers, so every now and then they ask, oh, how long is this going to last for? Blah blah blah. I'm like, you keep it sealed, it's going to last a long time.
Right.
But don't let it last a long time. Beer is always going to be fresh, except for a couple of styles. It's always going to be better when it's fresh.
Well,
So
nice with your growler. You got a screw top.
hmm
You screw it on, put it back in the refrigerator.
yeah, you can. It just the only thing with the growler. Now, mind you, folks would be like, well, that's 64 ounces of beer. I can't drink that in one sitting. And of course, I'm like, why not?
Yeah, I'd like
So,
to.
I know you'd like to, and it's one of these things where, if
I used to.
yeah, no, it can be done, but if you drink a fair amount of it, the carbonation will dissipate.
The thing
You
is,
just gotta
buying
kinda
that growler,
Mhm.
you're getting draft beer.
Yes.
Which you go down to the store and buy a case of one of the big boys.
Mhm.
You're not getting draft beer.
No, it's
To me, draft beer is so much better.
It's It's funny because there was a time when if I bought beer at a store, I just bought it. There was a time where if I bought beer at a store, I was buying bottles. And I'll tell you this, I mean, you have to do the competitive intelligence and check out what other breweries are doing. I was at a brewery yesterday, and most of the beer that I buy now is in cans. And it's funny because I think there was a time where, people frowned upon cans because cans were how all those Pilsner-like beers were delivered.
The aluminum would taste. You could taste the aluminum with the cans.
Yeah, with some of them, it's just what's interesting to me is a lot of the beers that I like, double IPAs, a lot of the beers that some of the beers that are out there, they come in 16-ounce cans. That's primarily what I buy, and it's funny because it went from cans to, I guess, bottles,
Yeah.
and now it's back to cans with some of the high-end beers that are out there. Because if it's an IPA, IPAs are very susceptible to time, if you will.
Right.
And part of it is just the hops that are in the beer, just over time will just lose their power. And if you have a can, there is zero light getting through to that beer, so it
Right.
helps it stay fresh. And that's another thing that we're doing the growlers, but we're also canning on a limited basis. We actually have some folks coming out next week.
Are you
that are
canning it right in your place?
We're canning it right in our place.
Whoa.
So we are canning, and then we're going to be talking to some folks next week about doing canning on a much larger scale.
Oh,
So yeah,
that's what I say. That must be quite a task to do it right there.
it is.
You don't have a lot of room either.
No, we don't. we have to move things around, and since you've been there, Harry, I mean, we had our original 3-barrel tanks, and a barrel is 31 gallons, so basically 110.
Now, do you sell kegs?
Well, we sell kegs to restaurants.
You do?
From time to we sell kegs to restaurants. So right now, and Friday's usually our delivery date. Some kegs are going out to the various golf courses in town, and one of the things that Brian and I consciously or maybe unconsciously have done is we also try to get our beer out to some of the outer, when I say outer towns, like a town or two beyond
Yeah.
Northbridge and Sutton and so on where we live.
You do all the delivering yourself, and
Harry, we do the brewing, we do the mopping, we do the beer delivery. Every now and then we're pouring beers.
where do you find time? God.
You got to make time.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, I mean, we've got a awesome staff. The first week we opened, Brian and I were behind the taps, and families helping out, and people were
Yep.
scrambling, and we're washing glasses by hand. You know, within like a week or two, we got our dishwasher going, which was huge. And we've got a staff of, I guess, about 6 or 7 folks
Really?
who help us, and they rotate.
Yeah.
And they've been helping us since the beginning. And what that helped us do is, get us, and it's always a treat to be behind the bar, because that's where the conversations are being had, and that's where
Right.
you meet folks and so on. But by having those folks, they're doing a lot of the beer pouring. Those are our beer tenders, and it allows Brian and I to focus on brewing and some of the other things. But yeah, we do it all.
Wow. It's amazing. Now, you don't distribute to any liquor stores yet.
No. It's we sold to a convenience store in North Sutton, a little bit of a few cans, not a ton, but
Yeah.
it's one of these things where within time that'll probably happen. I mean, we're always going to take care of our restaurant accounts first if we can. Again, there's not a ton of beer out there when we produce it. One of the big things, and this is one of the things that got confirmed in Nashville when we went, is all the breweries around the country are and I guess this is a testament to what we're doing here, is the big push is like, listen, there's a lot of competition, and you got to try to make as much money. You don't get into this business to make money, but you do need to make money to
Well,
stay
yeah, I
stay
mean,
around.
Yeah,
So-
to survive.
So the key is you got to try to sell as much beer out of your tap room as you possibly can, and they basically there's some studies run, and breweries that have tap rooms are growing 3 times faster than other breweries, and not everybody's got a tap room, and not everybody's got a tap room like we have.
Right.
I mean, we put a lot of our funds, a lot of our time into making that into a destination, and I think it is.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, that what I like is the fact that you're another reason for tourists to come here. You can't get tourism unless you offer something to them, and that's another offer that, and because I'm a big fan, I think that the Blackstone Valley historic end of it is going to be a big thing. It's going to bring people in, but when they get here, they want to be able to do something as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, they like to take a tour and see what the history is about with the Industrial Revolution. But it's great to be able to go into a brewery like yours and things like things like that to do.
Mhm.
And it's a very important factor. And you're offering that there. It's now, and when you offer entertainment, that makes it even better.
Yeah, the entertainment thing. So another big takeaway from Nashville, and of course we know this, is you got to maximize your tap room. And when I went in front of the town earlier this week, one of the things I said to them, because it's important, and everybody that cares about our success and staying open should care about this as well. It's just the fact that whether we like it or not, there's a lot of breweries out there.
Yes.
There's a lot of competition.
Oh.
There's a lot of entertainment options out there. We've got 20 minutes away. We have that brewery called Treehouse, and it's one of these things where we've got to be able to entertain our customers. We have to have them keep coming back. It's important. Right. And we've got competition. There is some incredible beer being made in central Massachusetts, and it's one of these things where we got to stay competitive, and everybody else is providing entertainment, the food trucks, the good beer. We've got to do it too.
Massachusetts is a very successful brewery.
Yep.
Started out like you guys.
Yep.
In fact, that you had to buy it in a growler for a long time.
Yep.
And they've now expanded into everything.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how if you go around, you find, and I like to, my wife and I go out to eat or something, I always ask what they have on tap.
Mm-hmm.
And I look for the local brew,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I like to try. In fact, there's a restaurant in Westboro that they brew their own beer right there.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Oh,
see,
no worries.
yeah,
Yep.
O'Leary's, yeah, and you're seeing this more and more.
Yeah, you are. What's interesting is we've got our restaurant accounts, and we always tell them, it's like we will do our best to get you as much beer as we possibly can, or whatever you're looking for. But I can't do a contract, and I can't guarantee anything, because our focus is always going to be on our tap room,
Right.
tap room first, and all that. But again, we're very, very gracious for their interest. And early on, Uno's in Bellingham reached out to us. Now, Matt, naturally,
Oh.
we're a tiny little brewery in Whitensville, so we're thinking, what does Uno's want from us? And Gene with Uno's in Bellingham is he's a very persuasive guy, great guy, but a very persuasive guy. And we just told him we're not going to do a contract. You can't do that. But Uno's, and I'm not entirely sure when they did this, but at least probably a year ago, maybe longer than that, they made the wise decision to open up some of their taps at all of their locations for ultra local craft beer.
Good move on their part.
It is a brilliant move on their part because, if you go to like an Applebee's or one of those places, they've got, people see like, you have the typical offerings. You'll have Blue Moon. You'll also have,
they have
whatever Goose
national,
Island.
Yeah, the national companies.
And that's not local beer. And
No.
I mean it's perfectly good beer, but it's not local beer. And just like we mentioned, fresh beer is
I
always
always
best.
find the local beers are a step up,
Hmm.
and that's what I look for on the menu. I mean, I don't drink a lot. One beer at my meal, I want to have a good beer.
Hmm.
I can't drink that much because of my diabetes. So when I do drink it, I want a good beer. Your beer is fantastic. I got to tell you, I had it, and
Thank
it's
you.
fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's getting better each and every day, and we're very happy with the beer.
Yeah. I see you got one called Dirty Swan.
Got Dirty Swan. That's one of our original beers when we opened the tap room.
Good name because we have swans all over town.
Yeah, no, it's the naming process is always fun. We had a black IPA. We're always messing around with our recipes, and I'm a huge fan of the black IPA because
I like a real dark beer.
yeah. Well, what's interesting about the black IPA is it's dark brown,
Yep.
but it tastes like an IPA. It tastes citrusy, etc. So it's kind of like a sensory illusion, if you will. But we made this beer, and Brian and I always have some pretty good ideas for most everything. We didn't have a name for it, so we've been utilizing social media pretty darn well, and that's his thing. He does a great job with our social media side. That's where we're doing most of our advertising, and we just said, "Hey, let's have a beer naming contest." And I mean, we got like 200 entries to
Wow.
name the beer in like the first 6 hours.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'm not entirely sure how many entries we received. But I was thinking, I'm like, there's no reason why we can't do this.
Social media is amazing.
Yeah, no, and people had fun with it, and some of the names were crazy, and some of the names I can't disclose here, but we
We're a
ended,
family show.
well, we ended up, ultimately we ended up with with Blackstone Black IPA, but just
Great name. I like
it's a
that.
great name. It's we had some other great entries, but it was a cool way for us to get folks involved in regards to the
Right.
process, and again we've just got a phenomenal fan base. We did the craft beer races up in Worcester a couple weeks ago, and so the whole thing is it's a 5K, and there's a beer garden after the race, and really the only people that can be there are the racers, and
Good thing though. Get your card back up.
yeah, well, it's great. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a reward for doing some work, and we've partnered up with MRA Sports in town. They've been huge fans from the beginning, and so they organized our team, and we had I think 25 runners, and the name of the team was the Lost Souls of Purgatory, and we actually
You do
won.
some good work with playing with the names.
Well, it's. I'd like to say it's me. It's not. It's Brian. Brian. He's in advertising and marketing. So he comes up with a lot of. I come up with some of the things, but it's primarily him. But we had the most runners at this event, and we won. We won a glass boot for having the most runners. And when you take into account the fact that I think there was, I don't know, 30 breweries there, and some of them are rather large. Little Purgatory beer with the Lost Souls of Purgatory winning. We're pretty excited about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I like that. The Lost Souls of Purgatory.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the idea with the Purgatory Beer Company. I think you take local things and you turn it into a good way of marketing.
Yeah, it's I mean, what's funny is we came up with the name years ago, and we literally trademarked Purgatory beer in like 2015. So, years before we opened, and that's just the way you have to do this business.
Well, it's a good move because who knows somebody might have grabbed it somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I mean, we had to lock up the websites and
Yeah.
all that. So we trademarked the name ages ago. Came up with the logo. Certainly the logo's got people think it's a military chevron, but it's supposed to be a pine tree.
Right, as I say, it's a pine tree.
And it's all about branding. We realize, something. I mean, what's cool about this is it'll lend to the local the local region,
Right.
Purgatory Chasm, but it's
Right.
also the sort of name that might resonate outside of our little world here in the Blackstone Valley. So that's kind of why we did it. And we realize branding is very, very important. Some of our favorite beers that we have are from companies that have just phenomenal branding. And just like I said, there's a lot of competition out there, and you got to take advantage of your opportunities when people come in. You got to make sure you're taking care of them. You have good beer for them, and you got to make sure it's a memorable outing. And I think we've been doing a pretty darn good job of that with the space that we have. And again, we'll start doing some
I know when
entertainment.
you opened, everybody was saying you couldn't find a parking spot. The place was jammed.
Mhm.
And I stopped in around St. Patrick's Day, and you were loaded up.
Yeah, it's well, I think I told you, Harry. If you can't be busy on St. Patrick's Day in the beer business, it's time to
get out.
it's time to get into another business. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, we were very busy on St. Patrick's Day, and most days when we're open, we're very, very busy.
Yeah.
Just like I mentioned before, we've got a great fan following. We got folks coming in for the first time. We've got folks that come in every weekend, and we're so grateful for them. But yeah, no, we're
What's your hours again? People don't know.
so our hours are it's 4:55 to 9 o'clock on Fridays, and it's 11:55 to 6 on Saturdays, and 11:55 to 3 on Sundays. We've been doing private parties, so if people are interested in that, we'll do those.
Oh, so you'll do a private party on your off hours.
Yeah, so what we'll do is on Sunday afternoons after we're closed, we've done a couple of bar classes and yoga classes, and they bring in some awesome groups, and we've done we did a wedding shower, we've done we did a party I think last week,
Oh.
so all kinds of stuff, but so now that the weather's starting to get better, and I guess it's good that we're talking about this. We're going to start expanding our hours by maybe an hour or two in certain directions.
You'll be opening up the outside.
So the outside, we've been out there the last couple weeks, so we have access to that. So you got that. We'll start tweaking our hours. We'll start expanding our hours, and then I believe it's May 24th, which is a Thursday.
Yeah.
That's going to be the first day that we're open on a Thursday.
That's a Wednesday, I think.
Is it a Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah, because I have a show on the 25th, so it's a Wednesday.
So yeah, so it's so the 25th is going to be our first day that we're going to be open on Thursdays. So we're going to start being open on Thursdays, probably from
Oh,
5 to 9, and on Thursdays when we're open, we're going to have trivia. So Wise Guys, which is the local trivia company, and I've done it. I've done it in a couple of places where you go and it's at a brewery, it's at a bar or whatever. You do trivia. I like trivia. It's awesome fun. Brings
Yep.
people together, and we're going to start doing that on Thursdays. We'll do it every Thursday as long as people show interest, and I'm sure
are you
folks
going to
will.
continue even after the summer months? Or?
Even more so, because it's one of those things that's funny is, when you're in this sort of business, you start to embrace weather, snowstorms piss you off, things like that. But I'll tell you this, a rainy day on a Saturday, or whatever, inclement weather on the weekends is not necessarily a bad thing for us. 'Cause
Yeah.
it keeps people from mowing their lawn, and it has them.
You're going to go somewhere that's indoors, and
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the end of the world, and so yeah, we're excited about doing trivia and doing some more stuff. Just having some offerings for the folks in the neighborhood.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, it's another stop. It's another thing to do in the valley that we need recreation, and that's a great form of it.
It is. It is. Yeah, absolutely.
And so eventually, though, you're thinking about you're going to be open almost every day eventually, or
No. I
not
mean,
giving up the income jobs.
it depends. I mean, it depends on income here and all that sort of stuff. I mean, there will probably be a time where it's a decision point in regards to, making sure that this is.
It's a tough decision. I mean, you got to pay the bills.
It's a very tough decision. And I've got a fun day job, and Brian does advertising, so it's one of those things where we're not necessarily giving that up now. We're at a good point.
If you got jobs you like, you don't want to give them up.
Yeah, you don't, and and the wives certainly don't want us to give them up. But
Right.
and I appreciate that. But at some point there might be a time where we go full time at Purgatory. I'm sure that will happen. I think we both want to get to at least 1 year with the company, and make a decision from there. But who's to know? That might happen. I mean, we're in a good groove. We've got a good feel for the business and what the demands are in our brewing cycle. So we've done a pretty darn good job of that. We both do I think a great job of just filling in when the other person can't do it on a given day or what have you. But
There's always a
we'll make it work.
possibility too that one day you'll have to expand, and
Yeah.
you might keep that place but open up something else.
Yeah, I mean it's so I mean we're in discussions right now about getting additional space. Now, mind you, when it comes to additional space, it'd be primarily now for storage and for other purposes, maybe even brewing eventually.
Yeah.
But one of the things that
The Boston Beer Company ended up buying a brewery down in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania.
yeah, we're pretty far from that, but it's one of these things where
But these things happen. I
no,
mean,
they do happen. I mean,
if things keep growing, you gotta grow with them.
yeah, you do. And again, we've gotten great demand for our product, and one of the things that we've been doing from day one is we're not leveraged really in any way, so that's nice. Even though we spent a fortune, and we try to pay for everything with cash. We try. I mean, I know this is kind of like a.
That's what makes a successful business. You don't go into hawk.
Yeah, no, I mean, there might be time for that, but we try to add equipment as we can.
Yeah.
So if you come to the brewery now, our original 3-barrel poly fermenters are now being replaced by 7-barrel 8-foot stainless steel fermenters. We got a couple last week. We have I think 2 more coming soon. So that'll allow us to be at the capacity.
That'll make a difference in the taste too, won't it?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's a couple of things. We'll be able to control a few things a little bit more than before, but it's primarily for capacity and being able to
You're
carbonate
getting
the
further
same
away
tank.
from the homebrew now into the real.
Yeah, I mean, and trust me, I mean, the equipment we're using now is not homebrew quality. It's all professional quality, but it's a larger quantity and the ability to stay ahead of the beer requirement.
Where do you get your bottles from?
So
I'm
we get them
curious.
from
Who makes these bottles?
Grandstand. They're called Grandstand Glassware, and I'm not entirely, I think they're out of Missouri, but
okay. So you have to import these in from quite a ways.
we spend a small fortune on shipping.
I was going to say.
When it comes to we spend thousands of dollars on shipping, and every 2 weeks we get a big pallet of growlers, and we go through them. And there have been occasions where now those guys are busy too because they're servicing the
all over the
majority
country.
Yeah, majority of the breweries out there. So there's been a couple of occasions where we've had to get.
Did he do your cans as well?
I don't believe they did the cans. Somebody else did the cans. We had them, they're basically shrink wrapped. And if you come to the brewery, we usually release cans on Sundays. But, if you come to the brewery, we have.
You have to have a special machine to package them and to seal them and everything.
Yeah, we have a seamer. So we do that there. I mean, and again, we'll probably work with some folks to do some mass canning. And, eventually, I'm sure we'll have our own canning machine, canning line.
But you're just in time now because people want canned beer go to the beach or
Mm-hmm.
take out to the summer home and things like that.
Yep. So
Fill
yeah,
the-
we
fill
try
the
to
cooler up.
try to accommodate.
Yeah. I mean, not that I wouldn't mind drinking out of a growler.
Well, it's a way to do it. You got to finish those 64 ounces. So,
There was a time I could drink that right down. But,
I'm sure. I'm
oh
sure.
yeah, I used to put down a good stein.
Yeah, it's it's a good way to deliver it. But we knew even from the beginning that that these things are great, but the shelf life of a growler is only so long. So
Right.
we wanted to start canning as soon as we could, and
When I was a kid, my father drank Hampton Ale.
yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard of Hampton
No.
Ale. It was made over in Hampton, Connecticut,
Okay.
and it came in a growler.
Did it really?
Yep, and it came in a case of 6 of them.
Oh wow.
And he poured glass and he put the screw cap back on, put it in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
In a brown bottle, of course.
Yeah.
And I remember it was a good ale, I guess. I mean, I was too young to know. I wouldn't. But he liked it, and it wasn't expensive, but it was a local. We had local breweries back then. We had a lot of local breweries back in the 50s.
Yep. It's so you kind of came and went. You had Prohibition, that certainly didn't help, but there was a time they were talking about this in Nashville again, where in I think the early '80s, where there were only 4, and I'm not entirely sure if this number is inclusive of Budweiser, etc., but there was only 48 breweries in the country, the early '80s.
I believe that. I mean, you got a lot of beers that went out of existence.
Mm-hmm.
One that comes to mind right away is Swiss.
Mm-hmm.
Then another
There
one.
might be a reason for that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the blue ball or whatever it is.
No, and there's another one right in Albany, New York, with Schaefer.
Yep.
They built the first Patriot Stadium.
Yeah.
And they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I think I had a Schaefer before. That wasn't terrible. My father used to drink Meisterbrow.
Meisterbrow.
Yeah, Meisterbrow.
Another phone call here. Give me a second here. Go ahead, you're on. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get this. Here we go.
Mark McCracken. How you doing, guys?
Okay.
No, who's this?
Good. I'm sorry, I'm just joining the show a little late here, but I wanted to just tell you that the brewery is doing fantastic. We love the beer, and I'm really excited about the live entertainment that you got coming up. What do you got to say, Kev? I hear you got some approvals.
Yeah, so no, thank you for the question. We got our approval for indoor entertainment this week, I guess on Tuesday, and that allows us to
Monday.
Monday. That's right, Monday. Your meeting's on Tuesday.
Right.
So that's what I was thinking of. But we got our approval to do indoor entertainment. So we're hoping that some of the local acts like the Moore Brothers can get out and start jamming away. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's a cool space. You don't have a ton of space, but the reality is, because of the granite walls, you could be jamming away in there. You wouldn't hear a thing outside.
We got some great acoustic musicians
We do.
in the area.
We do. So we're looking forward to it. We gotta get some entertainment cracking out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. Great beer, Kev. Brian, congratulations. You guys are doing awesome over there.
Thanks, Bart. You gotta get the Moore Brothers out.
More brother, we just finished the rehearsal. It's sounding great. So whenever you're ready, we're ready to play for you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank
too.
you, Bart.
Yeah, we have really good acoustic musicians in town.
Mm-hmm.
Chauvin, the animal control officer, we've had him on the show here.
Yeah.
Great job. He was,
What's his name again?
I forgot his first name now.
I think he plays at Maison.
Yes, he does.
Right? Okay. At
Yeah.
Donna's place.
Yeah.
So Donna has some great acts. Donna at Maison de Manger is an excellent singer and guitarist. I think she could be shy about that, but so we're going to try to get entertainment going, as often as we possibly can. The food truck thing has been working out nicely for us, and You know, I just think it's the sort of
We
place
got to
where
wrap it up, Kevin.
we do.
Yeah, been an hour already.
Wow,
See
went
how
fast.
fast it goes?
It does go fast. And I'll tell
Hey.
you this, one last thing that I wanted to mention, Harry, is, so, you know, our whole original plan for this was, you know, our home brews were for our friends and for ourselves and
Right.
so on. And it's amazing how many friends we've made by just being open and offering a product and some entertainment options to folks. And somebody said, a friend of ours who's lived in town for years, made a comment, but he's not from here, kind of like us. I think he's lived in the town for 6, 7 years, whatever. He made a comment to me last weekend that was really flattering, and it really just kind of achieves what we've been trying to do. He's like, you know, I've made more friends in the last 6 months at Purgatory Beer than I've had in my 6 years of living here.
That's what a bar is all about. It's a great place to meet people and just socialize.
Yeah, farm brewery.
A brewery. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're all set. We will see you next week. I guess is going to be the candidate for the Senate, John. I'm forgetting names now. Johnston.
Great.
All right, I forget his first name now. Anyway, he's a candidate for the U.S. Senate. He'll be here next week. I'll see you next week on About the Valley.